Good morning, everyone. Double-digit weeks. We're in week 10. How about that? And it's the waiver wire, and it's Adam, Dave, and Jamie here telling you who to pick up. You know, I'm in the Thanksgiving mood now. We're just a few weeks away. I'm going to say this week's waiver wire is Brussels sprouts. It's Brussels sprouts. Not a lot of people love Brussels sprouts, but some do. And the thing is, it's Brussels sprouts at a dinner where there's only like 2 or 3 sides because all of the best side dishes are on a buy this week. So you have to eat the Brussels sprouts in a lot of cases. Is this analogy working at all?
Is this Brussels sprouts with, bacon and balsamic and other stuff in there to kind of dress it up and make it taste good, or is this like boiled Brussels sprouts? Nothing else.
You tell me. What do you think?
It's boiled Brussels sprouts. Like you're gonna go and you're gonna like sit through this meal and then you're gonna hope that there's a McDonald's open on Thanksgiving night that you could pull through and pick up some food.
I have a question, Jamie.
Yeah.
It's a demand. Tell people why they need to listen to the show today. I don't want to crap on the waiver wire too much, right? This is an important week with the bye weeks.
That's the reason is that you're down the Chiefs, you're down the Eagles, you're down the Dolphins, and you're down the Rams. And those are a lot of great players that you have to replace. So while there might not be oh my God, grab this guy and start him right away, he's awesome, spend all your fab. There are certainly several plug-and-play players that you may be looking at as flex options, quarterback and tight end you may be looking at as starters. So while it's not always mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, sometimes Brussels sprouts does the trick.
All right, let's get to the show. So, Jamie, who are the top 3 priorities this week?
No one. Don't listen to the show. The top 3 guys are Keaton Mitchell, with the hope that he can become something for Baltimore. Demario Douglas, once again, because he's going to be the best receiver for the Patriots moving forward. And then I'm going to put a quarterback third, but I'm not sold on the quarterback. As I told you this morning when I called you, I was like, I don't know who's the best quarterback, but I think Baker Mayfield's the safest, just taking on the Titans and what he gives you. So you can put Will Levis in that spot. You can put Joshua Dobbs in that spot. But all 3 of those quarterbacks, I think, are worth looking at with the chance of helping you replace a Mahomes, a Hurts, or a Tua.
Who's your favorite quarterback rest of season between Dobbs, Mayfield, and Levis?
If you told me right now Jefferson's coming back, it would be Dobbs.
Agreed.
Wow.
It's the only reason why. That and the fact that he's going to continue to run and Baker doesn't run. I get it with the higher floor with Mayfield, but I think I'd rather have Dobbs than Mayfield.
I would hope that if you're picking these guys up and you don't need a quarterback, because most of the leagues I think where fantasy managers have needed quarterbacks, these guys are probably rostered. Maybe not so much. Dobbs was probably dropped after he was traded.
Yep.
But I think if you are 10-team league, shallow 12-team league, that if you're just looking for the 1 week replacement, I probably would go with the floor as opposed to the ceiling.
I would too. That's fair.
Yeah, there's another player out there, 67% rostered, who's emerging as a must-start running back, and that's Khalil Herbert. I want to talk about him in a little bit because he has a great matchup this week, and then it's absolutely terrible after that, and he could be in a 3-way split. We don't know, but
if he's even playing, just the window's open. He's not guaranteed to play.
Yeah, they're playing Thursday, so he may not even play this week. Okay, so he's a guy that you could look at too in shallower leagues. So it's Keaton Mitchell, Demario Douglas, and Baker Mayfield for Jamie. How about you, Dave? Who are your top 3 priorities?
I'd put Mitchell first, and it's just with the hope that he becomes something, and I've got notes on him. Zach Charbonnet would be second, but he's only available in about a third of CBS Sports Leagues, 35%. I think he just barely makes the threshold. There's some interesting notes on him. And then if you need a quarterback rest of season, it's Dobbs. I'd put him ahead of any of the wide receivers that are out there. And I like Demario Douglas. I think he's got potential to be better than what we saw in week number 9, but he plays the Colts, good matchup. Then he's on bye. Do you really want to roll with him rest of season? It's just the problem is that if it's not Demario Douglas, it's one of the tight ends. None of the tight ends are really amazing. There's a couple that have potential. I think it's Douglas third for me by default if you don't need a quarterback.
Yeah, I kind of want him rest of season. I mean, I'm not expecting much, but I'm expecting like what Michael Thomas has been before this past week.
It's a great comp.
Yeah. So,
Sure.
well, I mean, look, you can say that, Dave, but
I know, but I feel like we can find a guy like that on the waiver wire almost every week. Like Tyler Boyd's out there in 38% of leagues. You can pencil him in for 10 PPR points pretty much every single game.
I do think there's potential for more though for Douglas, just based on what
Yeah.
this offense needs and
Right.
who's missing. And so it's kind of like the same thing with Hunter Henry. If you're talking about tight ends, we just saw a game without Kendrick Bourne, and both those guys had good to okay, average to above average production, depending on what you were looking for.
I mean,
so,
Henry was good. You'll take that from a tight
yeah,
end.
so it's yes, the bye's coming up. Yes, it's Mac Jones. Yes, it's the Patriots, but there's still opportunity for volume, and I think that's hard to overlook.
They have a pretty good schedule remaining, just being honest.
Let's talk about who we would drop for Keaton Mitchell. Ravens running back coming off a big game here. There's going to be a split. John Harbaugh said there's going to be a split in the backfield.
There always is.
Yeah, it's you got to figure Edwards most likely to get the goal line work, and maybe even Justice Hill more likely to get the passing downs work. But Keaton Mitchell's pretty electric here. So I think Roschon Johnson, easy drop, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What about Tajay Spears?
If he's your worst guy and you want to speculate, I'd rather speculate on a Ravens running back with speed than a Titans running back with speed.
That's a tough one for me because I think if you were to say right now, who's got the more clear path to being a featured guy? If there's an injury in Tennessee, it might take 2 injuries in Baltimore for that to happen, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe not. That's probably
Not,
yeah.
There's things going on with Justice Hill that make me a little more optimistic on Mitchell.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't want to wait for an injury. So Mitchell
and like they've been using Gus as their feature back for like 2 games going into this one. And it was Justice Hill who played the most snaps with Lamar last week against Seattle. Like Gus had the touchdown.
Yeah, that's the Seattle game though. I don't really worry about. I mean, they were that game was in hand early.
Does it matter to you who played the most snaps in garbage time? Not with Lamar Jackson.
It wasn't Justice Hill.
It was Justice Hill.
Yeah.
17 of 19 snaps with Huntley.
Right. I'm just worried about passing. I'm just, we talk about trap backs, right? And Keaton Mitchell
could be that
passes, and he's not going to score the touchdowns unless they're from 40 or 60 yards out, basically. But I understand the appeal. Would you drop Jaleel McLaughlin, who a few weeks ago was basically Keaton Mitchell? Would you drop Jaleel McLaughlin for Keaton Mitchell?
Yes.
I would if he was if he's your worst player. Same thing as Tajay Spears. These are guys I don't want to cut, but let's just say my team's loaded. I've got good depth. If he's my worst player and I want Mitchell, then I would do it.
All right. Obviously, drop Bijan Robinson for him because Bijan's hopeless.
I mean, Arthur Smith would.
No, don't do that.
But he wouldn't drop Tyler Algier. Can't drop Tyler Algier.
The Rams running back, not Kyron Williams, but the other 2 Rams running backs for Keaton Mitchell.
If you're not playing them anytime soon, yes, because it's really a 1-week window that they still have left.
Sure. Okay. All right. Let's talk more about the Brussels sprouts here. But even better than the Brussels sprouts is the Morning Buzz on CBS Sports HQ. You probably didn't see it because you were watching that thriller last night, but the Knicks won, and I'm happy about that. If I want to watch highlights, I'm going to turn on Morning Buzz on HQ. Your sports day starts here. Highlights from all the top games and leagues. Catch up on storylines and social buzz. Jump in and out. Morning Buzz runs all morning starting at 9 a.m. and get it all for free on the CBS Sports app. So if you have the app, you can watch HQ. You download it on your Roku or Apple TV, whatever the heck you have, your smart TV. Watch HQ. It's exactly what you want as a sports fan. It's great. Schedule alert. I got a player with a great schedule and a player with a bad schedule. Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's kind of weird with him. What is a great schedule for him? Washington, for example, 29th against wide receivers. It's a good matchup for a guy who runs extremely short routes and gets targeted in short area all the time. Not really. We know what Washington is, but just looking on paper, 6 of Jackson Smith and Jigba's last 8 games. And when I give these stats, I'm pretty much never including week 18. If I do, I'll let you know. So 6 of his last 8 games are against teams that rank 26th or worse against wide receivers. So that is the same for Metcalf and Lockett. Now, the caveat is that 2 of those or 3 of those matchups are San Francisco and Philadelphia. Maybe you think they're going to be better. But on paper, the Seahawks wide receivers have great matchups going forward, and JSN is 67% rostered. Another guy who's 67% rostered is Khalil Herbert. If he plays this week, it's a favorable matchup. If you're going to trust him, I don't know that you would. But then after that, it's Detroit. They're just brutal against running backs. Minnesota, they're 7th. Then a bye week. Then Detroit again, and then Cleveland. It's a little bit better after that, but that's really tough for Khalil Herbert. So in my mind, like going into the week before, I looked at the schedule, and I'm sorry, I feel like it's not as easy as just like I should look at the schedule for everyone, but because I said beat the waiver wire with him on Friday. If I saw Khalil Herbert, he might be my top pickup if I saw him in the
Oh,
league.
he should be.
But I don't know. Like this schedule terrifies me, and the whole
But I
situation.
mean, yes, the schedule should be somewhat of a concern. I mean, you know, this is the point in the year where one injury can make the entire difference for a defense.
Yeah. So if you saw Khalil
If you're telling
Herbert,
me my choices right now are I'm first on waivers, and it's Herbert, Mitchell, Douglas, Charbonnet, whatever you want to put the order of, I would take my chances with Herbert being the lead running back for the Bears for the rest of the season.
okay. And how about if you saw there's like 6 tight ends who are about 80% rostered, and obviously all of them will not be available, but 1 or 2 might be. So we're talking Komet and Ferguson. And you know what? Let me just pull up the list.
McBride and
Njoku, Ferguson, Schultz, Komet, McBride. That's 5 tight ends that are right around 80% rostered. Do any of them feel like if they were available, the absolute must-add guy over Khalil Herbert?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who?
Oh, over Herbert?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to say no, because if you're telling me that these guys are available, there's probably 2 or 3 of them that are available.
Nah, I don't know. Sometimes just like one slips through the cracks. I don't.
But, okay, so if it's the choice of getting Herbert first and then maybe coming back and getting Hunter Henry, I would do that.
Over taking Komet and then hoping for, I don't know, Antonio Gibson to be the running back you get second.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you feel about that group of tight ends: Njoku, Ferguson, Schultz, Komet, McBride.
Sounds like a lot of guys that are low-end starters rest of season.
Yeah, or at least right now.
Who's your favorite?
Komet.
I might go Schultz just with the matchup this week and the fact that he's already passed his bye. Komet still has his bye coming up.
Okay.
Komet's got his quarterback coming back. He's already been connecting with the quarterback who's in there now. So even if Fields doesn't play, I feel like he's the number 2 target in the offense. Schultz is good too. Like we should have really been on top of Schultz more last week because the Texans they can't run the ball. I don't know if they're miraculously going to be able to run the ball when Dameon Pierce comes back, but if they were, I think that would hurt Dalton Schultz quite a bit.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go Ferguson 1, Schultz 2, Komet 3.
He's up there.
I think Schultz, I think we were right to be skeptical because as soon as Tank Dell came back the previous week, Schultz's production cratered. But it was just a bad game for Stroud, and last week was a great game for Stroud. I think Stroud versus the Bengals is going to be a fun little debate this week, but we have more time for that a little bit later. Talking fab here. How much are you spending on Keaton Mitchell?
Not much.
I don't know unless I need one of these guys that we're going to talk about today, I don't know if I'm spending any fab this week. Like if I need a DST or a bye week replacement, I get it. But I don't know if anybody here is really worth it. I agree, not that much. But someone in your league is going to overspend for him. Someone in your league is going to put up a 25% fab bid or more.
Yeah.
He's not. I like him a lot, but I don't know. I mean, you guys know how much I like him. Been talking about him for months.
I think the tough fab decision this week is if you have a quarterback on a bye, you're not the only one, and you're going to have to be very competitive here. So, but at the same time, like Jamie said, he doesn't feel a huge difference between Mayfield, Levis, and Dobbs. So you're going to have to decide how much money to spend if you have Mahomes or Hurts or Tua. Probably
Unless
not.
you already have it covered, which
of course,
some
but I'm
smart
saying
fantasy managers might.
If you don't have it covered, and then I guess check your league and see who the Mahomes and Hurts and Tua managers have. Do they need to get in that quarterback market? You know what I'm trying to say here? Because you might be desperate. You don't want to miss out on all the waiver wire quarterbacks. But if all 3 of our top guys are available, then you probably don't want to spend too much on any one of them.
Correct. No, I also think this is a great week to, try and trade for any of those high-level players that are on a bye if those teams are struggling. I mean, you have a perfect opportunity to get Mahomes maybe as cheap as ever. Travis Kelce certainly as cheap as ever. The Eagles guys, if somebody's struggling, just needs to get something to get a win. The Dolphins guys, Tua's coming off a crappy game. There's a
Right,
lot. There's a lot to maybe
Rams.
poach off of somebody's roster.
Yeah. Then there's the Rams. This Sean McVay is optimistic about Stafford coming back in Week 11. Are we
bet
making?
he does.
What's that?
I bet he does.
I bet
Right.
he does too. He'll be
How
back
healthy
to giving
is
us
he?
17 fantasy points.
I don't care about him. I care about
Yeah,
Nick-
right. It's just more the receivers.
Ah, okay.
Are we making offers for them, or are we a little nervous about it?
Sure. They're great
Oh,
buy
I mean,
lows.
if you can get them cheap, you absolutely do it.
I don't really know. I just don't really know what that means exactly. Would you give up Mike Evans for them?
100%.
For Cup, yes. For Puka, I'm not sure. Not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. I got some news and notes for you. We'll update you on the big storylines after we take a break here on Fantasy Football Today. All right, break is over. If you're watching, I went to break too soon. I didn't give Schaefer enough time to cue up the commercial. So I was sitting there like, it was my fault. My bad. News and notes. Kyler Murray is going to start this week, barring a setback. But head coach Jonathan Gannon said it might not look like Kyler Murray. So I don't know if that means he has longer hair or he just won't be quite as dynamic as he was before. Where are you guys ranking Kyler this week?
Top 12.
I've got him 16th.
Okay. Josh Dobbs is going to start for Minnesota. Justin Fields is going to start on Thursday against Carolina. Daniel Jones tore his ACL, and Brian Dable, for you in 2 QB leagues, Brian Dable did not commit to Tommy DeVito. So it could be Matt Barkley, which would give us the Barkley backfield, which everybody I think would be pretty excited about. Khalil Herbert practiced in full, but again, we don't know if he's going to be activated. Cole Kmet does have a knee injury. Should this be a concern to anybody picking him up on waivers or anybody in general? Cole Kmet.
I would could probably assume that short week, they list guys like this that are dealing with any sort of ailment. They didn't practice. It's a walkthrough. So, we see this quite a bit. I wouldn't worry about it.
All right. And again, they got the Thursday game. Jamar Chase, didn't mention this one yet. He's questionable. He's got a sore back. He may not play this week. They seemed almost pessimistic about it, very cautious about it, let's say. And they've got Houston coming up. And I'll give you the numbers from the 4 games that he missed last year. Joe Burrow had 3 games with 17.5 to 21.1 fantasy points. And he had a huge game at Pittsburgh. He was pretty good overall, but only one great game. T. Higgins was phenomenal. He was on pace for 153 targets. Tyler Boyd was not. Tyler Boyd had 12 catches in 4 games for 140 yards and a touchdown. It was a really big disappointment because we knew Chase was going to have an extended absence. And I remember being pretty excited about picking up Tyler Boyd if he had been available, and he stunk. So it's something to keep in mind as they get the Texans this week. And then they're at Baltimore. Taylor Heineke's going to start for Atlanta. Dallas Goedert broke his forearm. That is tough news. Not put on IR yet. They have a bye. If he's put on IR, he has to miss 4 games. Not 4 weeks, but 4 games. John Harbaugh said there will be a rotation at running back. The tough Cam Akers tore his Achilles. This is a different Achilles, his left Achilles. Last time it was his right Achilles. So just a brutal break there. Dan Campbell said that he has a good feeling about David Montgomery playing this week, but also that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get some touches. What did he say? He'll get his fair share of touches. Who are you guys ranking higher this week for the Lions?
Gibbs, PPR, Montgomery, none.
They're much closer for me in PPR than non, but I have Montgomery higher.
All right. And they have the Chargers, who actually all of a sudden have a good run defense.
They have a hell of a pass rusher.
They do. They have a few. Christian Watson does not have a concussion, which is good. He might play this week. Deebo Samuel is back, baby. Zay Jones missed practice. He's must be pretty hurt. He's coming off the bye, and Zay Jones still not healthy. Dallas is going to work out Martavis Bryant. Are there any leagues, even a dynasty league, where there's everyone's rostered that you're stashing as you're adding Martavis Bryant, former Steelers receiver?
No.
Sean McVay sounded optimistic about Stafford, as I mentioned. He also said Kyron Williams is expected back in Week 12 when he's first eligible. Devon Achane should be back in Week 11. We know Josh Downs is hurt. KJ Osborne is hurt. Cleveland got good news, not great news, but good news on their left tackle, Jedrick Wills. He is on IR, but he's not out for the season. He has an MCL injury, and he's going to miss at least 4 games. And there are some other defensive news that we don't really need to get to. So let's get to the top 3 at each position. Jamie, start with the quarterbacks. Who are the top 3 quarterbacks to get?
Yeah, we mentioned this already. Baker Mayfield, Will Levis, and Joshua Dobbs. And I think it depends on what you're looking for not just week 10, but also beyond. So for week 10, I feel like Baker's got the safest floor. I feel like Levis has the highest ceiling. I don't love the matchup for Dobbs against against New Orleans, but hopefully, as Dave said before, that his legs can carry him through. He's got, I think it's 5 games with at least 40 plus yards rushing. So,
Yep.
he's done a nice job there. 3 games in a row with a rushing touchdown. But I still buy into the Saints defense being pretty tough to have production against. So he's my least favorite from a week 10 starting standpoint. But long term, if you tell me right now, which it seems like it's trending in that direction, that Jefferson's coming back, then I would put Dobbs ahead of the other 2 if you don't need to start somebody for this week.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the Tampa Bay Tennessee game, you would think, based on the past, this is the better matchup for Baker Mayfield. But Tennessee's been a lot better against the pass than we expected. They're 10th against quarterbacks.
I think it's misleading, though.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, the last 3 quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson scored 18 points. I don't know if you remember that game. They left a lot of points off the board. They stunk.
That was in Europe. Yep.
Actually, I think Tennessee might be the best red zone defense in the NFL. I had to look that up. Taylor Heineke had 14. Kenny Pickett had 12. But on the other end, it's Tampa Bay. They just have a terrible pass.
Heineke was in a half.
Yeah, fair point.
You're right. Sorry about that. Was he?
He was.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember, Ritter had the concussion, and then he cleared protocol, but they benched him anyway, and it was because Arthur Smith said he was being conservative with him. He wanted him healthy.
Right. Well, that's why I'm not really buying it as a bad matchup for Baker Mayfield. But
I think if it was a team like Tampa Bay that, and granted, Rashad White's coming off a strong performance running the ball, but if it was a team that can run the ball, because that's what we've seen is the Titans' run defense has really been bad by comparison to what we thought it was going to be and what it was for last season. The thing about Baker is just he basically is just giving you consistently 20 plus fantasy points. 5 of 8 games this season, he's hit 20 points. He's had really 2 bad games. So he's had 2 under 18 points. So he's been just pretty consistent. And again, I think the floor, how this game should go, it makes him the safest of the bunch. But Will Levis, my God, he's facing a defense that's just allowed 84 fantasy points the last 2 weeks to Josh Allen and to CJ Stroud. I just don't know if you can bank on Levis getting to the 20-point mark safely, like he should be able to. And again, I don't discount him having the higher ceiling than Baker. But we also saw what the floor looked like last week. And now there's 2 games worth of tape on him. And so will Todd Bowles make things a little bit tough on Levis? Plus that offensive line is a complete disaster. And is he going to get more than just DeAndre Hopkins helping him? So I don't mind him. But I also think if I'm just picking between the 2, I'll take my chances with Baker.
It was really what an endorsement. It was like 4 or 5 things is negative on Will Levis. But no, you're right. It was just funny. It was just like, here are all the reasons why he might struggle.
Well, the matchup's great.
Yeah.
Right. But like, it's almost like the matchup's great. And 2 weeks ago, we saw him go haywire. And those are the reasons to go with Will Levis. And then here's 6 other reasons why you shouldn't go with Will Levis. And they're pretty good reasons. So I agree that he's like number 3 on this list for sure.
He's 2 for me.
Yeah. I'd rather have Dobbs than Levis.
No, I get that. If you're just looking long term, but for starting this week, I take Levis over Dobbs.
I'd rather have Dobbs than Levis.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's going to be close between them.
If Russell Wilson were available, how would he rank with the other 3?
Ahead of him. Buffalo
I think I'd put him behind him.
Oh, wait. Can someone look this up? Because Heath was going to do it. I don't think he ever did. I've got this feeling because I feel like every time Russell Wilson's in prime time, he's at Buffalo on Monday, I feel like he is awful. And that's why everybody hates him so much, because whenever the NFL community gets to watch Russell Wilson, he just lays a total egg in prime time.
He's Kirk Cousins?
He's something. So I don't know. He said he was going to look up his night splits. I don't know if that's easy to do, but
Let me see if I can find it.
Because to think about the Chiefs game earlier this year, just like every time, I don't know. But anyway, maybe something to look into. Okay, running back. While Dave's looking that up, Jamie, you can give the top 3 running backs.
It's Keaton Mitchell. It's Zach Charbonnet, and then it's good luck. But after those 2, I think you're looking at maybe some potential handcuffs. I'm going to put Fournette 3rd, though, just with the chance of Buffalo needs to do something. They're awful right now running the ball. They really have no run game to speak of. And I said this last week when we were talking about Fournette, that if he becomes something, you get ahead of it. And so if you get a chance to get him for 1%, 5%, second time through waivers, he wasn't activated. So, there's no stats to speak of for week 9. They just need to change something. So I think if he's ready to go, he'll be activated for this week. And it's such a good matchup against Denver. So this could be a very soft landing spot for Fournette to start to make some plays for Buffalo. I don't know if he will. It's a total guess. But James Cook and Latavius Murray are not getting the job done right now.
He's absolutely my favorite running back stash this week. I mean, Mitchell, I guess technically is a stash because I don't know if you're ready to start him as soon as week 10, but who else is out there that's got any kind of rest of season upside? And Antonio Gibson's out there in like 60% of leagues, but we know what he is. There really isn't any other running back that's out there that might be able to be a 15 touch. And man, I have a hard time saying that with a straight face because it's a Buffalo running back, but they got to get, you're right, Jamie. They got to get something going. Who else has 15 touch potential and maybe even steal a few touchdowns than Leonard, Flippin, Fournette?
I think you're being a little hard on James Cook. I don't think he has run the ball poorly. I mean,
I don't think he's run the ball.
Right. Well,
That's
he
part
did.
of
I
the
mean, he had 13 to 14 carries in 3 straight games before only 6 at Cincinnati, where they barely had the ball. They were trailing by 14. But I don't think James Cook has done anything to lose that job.
It's not about necessarily losing the job, though. It's about does Fournette overtake Murray, which is not hard to do, and then what does that mean for what he could become?
Yeah. Well, I hope he becomes Latavius Murray and not James Cook, because I like James Cook. I mean, I'd rather have him getting the carries, but obviously it's a mess there right now. All right, wide receiver Dave, who you got? Top 3.
Double check to make sure that Tank Dell isn't out there. I know on CBS leagues, he's only out there in like 20, 25% of leagues, but I saw that on other platforms, he's like available in half of the leagues. So do a double check for him. Do a double check for Jahan Dotson. You try saying that 5 times fast. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba is worth a double check as well. If those guys are gone, and they should be, Demario Douglas is my favorite, followed by Tyler Boyd. And then I don't feel good about Quentin Johnson. I know he's available. He's just not clicking yet. Maybe this week against Detroit, he gets some more opportunities. They didn't need him against the Jets. It was a tough matchup. I guess he would be 3rd for me because there really isn't anybody else that gets me really excited.
Okay. I think that's kind of the theme of the show today. But Douglas and Tyler Boyd.
I've got your Russell Wilson stats too.
Oh, let's hear it.
He's 1-4 in his last 5 late games with, I think, 2 passing touchdowns.
Oh.
Subpar completion rate, under 60%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's bad. Okay. Well, tight end, Jamie. Who are the top tight ends to get?
As you mentioned earlier, with the guys that are in 80 to 82% roster, check to see if Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, David Njoku, Trey McBride, all are not rostered. If they aren't, pick your favorite one. Those are the best of the bunch. Then it's kind of a mixed bag of Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, and Logan Thomas. Smith just continues to be a productive factor for the Falcons and outproducing Kyle Pitts, as we saw last week. Hunter Henry, first game without Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker, scored a touchdown, had 7 targets. And Logan Thomas just, safe option. 4 catches last week, not a huge game, but Sam Howell's throwing the ball a lot and will still be a factor. So don't love the matchup for him this week against Seattle, but can still be a borderline starter for you.
Are we assuming Drake London's not playing this week?
No, he's playing.
No, it sounds like he's going to go.
All right. So I'm surprised that Jonnu Smith is number 1 for you then.
Well, it's not like Jonnu was not producing when Drake was on the field.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You can put Henry first. I have no problem with that.
No, I think I'd take Logan Thomas first.
I think I would too, but
Henry Thomas.
I don't have a great deal of confidence in any of these guys as anything more than low-end PPR starters.
None of them are ranked as starters for me.
Right. And hopefully one of those 80% rostered guys slips through the cracks. I meant to ask this question. I want to ask it now. I don't want to forget. So we said Khalil Herbert, if he were available, might be the number 1 guy it would be the number 1 guy, basically. Jamie said that. Dave, you agree?
No.
You take Keaton Mitchell over him?
I might, just on the speculation that he becomes something rest of season.
Well, I think if we're playing this this game and Dave mentioned other platforms, Tank Dell would be the first guy.
So he was a little bit too.
Yeah.
He was a little bit high. Okay, fine. The other player I was going to mention was Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I would
Dell
take those two guys over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
and Smith and Najigba.
Yep.
But Dell would be your favorite, right?
By far.
Followed by Dotson.
I would go Dell, Dotson, Smith and Jigba, Herbert.
Okay.
Same.
DSTs, Jamie, who are we looking at?
The Raiders. They get the Jets.
Mhm.
Max Crosby's got to be so excited. The Seahawks, the Lions, and the Colts.
Okay. Dave, anything to add? Or
I don't mind the Packers this week getting the Steelers.
Agreed. I try not to list like 17 teams. So like I usually used to be I only gave 3, and then I'm like, I can give 4. And so I don't want to keep giving like so many
Sure.
DST
The
options.
good news is that you can find DSTs this week, but I would prioritize. I wouldn't make them your number 1 priority, but like number 2, number 3 type of priority. I wouldn't wait till Saturday to drop the Chiefs DST or bench the Chiefs DST to go pick up one of these other DSTs. They're going to go fast.
I wonder how people are going to feel about the 49ers DST. And they're 91% roster. Well, they've been horrible.
We may not have heard. They just got another pass rusher.
They did. They're at Jacksonville. Could be some music for that game. I'm not sure.
Well, given your track record, it would be appropriate.
2-1. You're 2-1.
Do you think I went 2-1 or 1-2?
No, you 100% went 2-1.
Bengals, Chiefs. You think Bengals, Bills lived up to?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all in on the Bengals. They're winning the Super Bowl. All in.
They're great.
I'm a Bengals fan.
Both sides of the ball.
Giants are over. I'm a Bengals fan.
Will you return to being a Giants fan in 2024?
Of course. I'm gonna be a Giants fan in week 10.
No, you're not.
Of course I am.
You're rooting for them to lose.
Jamie, this is what people don't understand. I am going to root for them to win. It doesn't matter. They're going to lose anyway. That's like, I don't have to. It's not like big game. I'm so into it. I'm going to win. They're going to lose.
Why would you even watch? If it wasn't for your job, why would you even watch?
Oh, I like to. I mean, I just enjoy it. You know why? I love football. I just love it. I'm watching the Hurricanes on Saturday, and they're playing like total garbage, and it's like the game was over. I'm like, I'm really gonna miss this. I only got like 4 games left, and that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna miss football so much. I always do. I hate when it ends. At least with the NFL, you've got another month of football. You've got the playoffs, but you don't get that many Sundays. You don't get that many chances to watch your team, and I just absolutely love it. I know that might sound cheesy or like I'm lying, but it's the truth. I just
fight for that yard.
I love it. Yeah. No, I hope I'm motivating people to watch football, but I'm gonna miss it. You don't get that many chances. And
I got a feeling people are gonna watch.
No, I know, but
we were all sitting there watching that crap game last night. Everybody comes out to watch the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if your team stinks, why do you keep watching? And for me, it's because I know I'm not going to be able to. They're not going to play another meaningful game until next September, and that sucks. Kickers, Jamie.
Who's the starting quarterback for the Giants in Week 1 next year?
Some rookie, I think. I don't know who. I don't think they're going to get
Andy Dalton,
but
it could be Daniel Jones. Like, they might hang on to him.
They'll hang on to him,
and then they put the rookie in by like week 4.
So they're putting the guy coming off a torn ACL over a rookie that may be ready to play?
Depends on who the rookie is and if he's ready to go.
Well, I talked about this yesterday. I mean, don't base any ACL recovery timeline on Kyler Murray. I cannot believe how long Kyler Murray took to get back. It's the longest I can remember. It's like unbelievable. And most players are back very early in the season, regardless of when they tear quarterbacks, regardless of when they tear their ACL. Kyler, this is stunning. Week 10. Who are the
Call of Duty tournament to play?
Who are the kickers?
The kickers?
Yes.
Now we're into the Brussels sprouts. Riley Patterson, Jason Myers, Jake Moody, and Daniel Carson.
Okay, great. And we don't have IDP right now. If Devondre Campbell might still be out there, you might want to hang on to Reed Blankenship through his bye. Guy's a good game every single week. And those are the only players I can tell.
Agreed. You can always tweet me or email me. I'll help you out with your IDPs.
Okay, shallow leagues, deep leagues. Dave, do you want to take the shallow leagues? I always give you the deep leagues.
No, I prefer the deep.
All right. Dave is rolling in the deep. Jamie's in the shallow. What do you got, Jamie Eisenberg?
I mean, we've said a lot of these guys already. So
Yeah.
I'll go back to the quarterbacks here. And I do think Russell Wilson is still worth buying into just because, again, Buffalo has been really bad the last 3 games against quarterbacks. So hopefully coming off a bye. I'll check to see what his numbers are coming off a bye. That's always a good stat to look at with these veteran guys. Kyler Murray, obviously, 81% rostered. So he should be the priority at that position. The running backs, as we said, Khalil Herbert. But there are 3 guys. I know we debated Keaton Mitchell versus some of these players. But Tyjae Spears, you still want to have him on your team. Tyler Algier, Jaleel McLaughlin. These are all high-end handcuffs that are playing to some degree. If you look at what Algier just did, he's got 11 PPR points in 2 of his last 3. Spears has basically given you a floor of 6 PPR points. I know that's not great from a starting perspective, but that just shows you what he can do if he were to get the starter's job should something happen to Derrick Henry. And then we've seen what Jaleel McLaughlin has done when he's gotten a little bit of work. And so similar to all these guys, they're just an injury away from being must-start fantasy guys. The receivers, again, we touched on a few of these guys. Tank Dell, Nathaniel Dell for what your search should be. Jahan Dotson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, all worth adding. And then Jerry Jeudy, too. He's coming off a touchdown prior to the bye, didn't get traded. So maybe that, puts a little bit of, better mental state for him. And Russ continues to look for him. He does have actually 11 PPR points in 3 of his last 4. So giving you a decent floor there as well. And the tight ends, we've said these guys already. Jake Ferguson, Cole Kmet, David Njoku, Dalton Schultz, Trey McBride, pick your favorite one, but all have the opportunities to be, pretty productive fantasy options.
I don't know how you feel about Kmet though. Carolina, they've been pretty good. They just never get targeted. The teams just don't throw on them. I don't know if Chicago is going to do that. Like just give the ball to Deontay Foreman or whatever all the time. But Carolina, it's a tough matchup for Cole Kmet.
It's a revenge game for Deontay Foreman.
Oh, yeah, about that.
And DJ Moore.
And that's who they're giving the ball to.
All right, Dave, deep leagues.
At quarterback, Dobbs is out there in 70% of CBS Sports leagues, so he would top the list. Taylor Heineke for this week against Arizona would be next. Mac Jones, available in 2/3 of the leagues. He's got Indianapolis and then a bye. So Heineke and Mac, they're definitely 1-week options. That's really it. I don't know if I can talk about any other quarterbacks that are out there in deep leagues. Running backs, Fournette, Gibson at 61%. Oh, Keaton Mitchell, obviously. I'm sorry about that. Mitchell should top the list. He's available in over 90%. How about Ty Chandler as a stash? Because Alexander Madison, great game, did a lot of it through the air. Dobbs might be the leading rusher for the Vikings rest of season, not Alexander Madison. He's just so inefficient. So Ty Chandler could be an interesting stash, and you wait to see what happens with him. Odell Beckham, available in 70% of CBS leagues. Might be as good as it gets amongst the wide receivers. Khalil Shakir, 92%. If you're stashing, these guys aren't even worth stashing. Zay Jones, Traylon Burks, I would put them out of the list. And then at tight end, we didn't get into Cade Otton, and I think we should. He's 89% available. He's had at least 6 targets in each of his past 3 games. He's had at least 4 catches in each of his past 3 games. And, of course, he had the 2-touchdown game against Houston. I wouldn't expect him to score very often, but maybe he gets you around 8 to 10 in PPR. Still would rather have Logan, Jonnu, Hunter Henry ahead of him. I think he's in that same mix as Luke Musgrave. I think they could have the same expectation. The difference being that Musgrave doesn't have as tough of competition around him as Otton does, but Otton's had at least 6 targets, 3 straight games.
Okay. Excellent. So
Excellent.
Zang. All right. Hey, Thomas, I am going to go to a commercial break now. Gonna give you a little time. Okay. And when we come back, the thriller in the Meadowlands on Monday night, the Chargers and the Jets. We'll talk about it right after this on Fantasy Football Today. Cue commercial.
Friday, honor those who have served.
On a special night at the Naval Academy.
With some hoops for the heroes. Don't miss the Veterans Classic on CBS Sports Network.
If you were watching the commercial, college basketball season started. All right.
I'll be at a college basketball game on Friday.
Excellent. Zang, I finally get to root for a good team. The Chargers and the Jets, 27-6. Chargers with the win. You know what I hate in fantasy football? Let me tell you what I hate, guys. A special teams touchdown or a defensive touchdown. It's just like a game script killer for so many players. And the Chargers got one early. So, and they only had the ball for 25 minutes and 33 seconds. But
That was the only score they needed.
It's true. That's because Dave, who dropped that touchdown at the end of the game for the Jets?
It was CJ Uzama.
Oh, boo.
We're not celebrating a drop, especially a drop that would have meant nothing to anybody in fantasy. It probably would have hurt more people because more people probably started the Chargers DST than Zach Wilson or Uzama.
What are our major takeaways from this game? Well, Breece Hall. I mean, Breece Hall is struggling in the run game recently.
Yeah.
He had the 50-yard
behind that offensive line. It's hard to run.
Well, this is a guy that I was thinking.
Quarterback that they're daring to throw.
I was really thinking Breece Hall, first-round pick kind of player right now. You know, like a top 12 overall player, going to get unleashed.
Still has that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he had 20 touches. That's a good thing.
I'm not benching him this week.
No.
Raiders. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm benching him any week.
Of course.
But I would expect him to at least get more than 6 non-PPR fantasy points.
I appreciate Joey Bosa. I got a nice text from Dave. We were going head-to-head in our IDP Dynasty League, and I was down 12.
You were down 10 going into. I know this. Let me tell it.
Right.
You were down 10.
I thought, honestly, I'll just to give you my perspective.
Okay.
After Burrow's game, because I know you had Burrow, I stopped looking at the score because I thought you won.
Yeah, I thought I won too. And then Bosa had a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery on the same play. And I turned to my wife. We were watching the game, and I said, "I'm cooked." And I'm. This is a dynasty league, and I'm going for it. And I made a big trade, and I am 0-2 since the trade with 2 heartbreaking losses. I'm now a game below 500. I have no first-round pick next year. This did not go the way that I thought it would. Just there are fantasy gods too, because I talked a little trash after I made the trade, and I am just getting shoveled in horse manure, figuratively.
Well,
after that trade,
I also got lucky against Dave in another league where I was up. I think it was like 9 or 10 going into last night. It's tight end premium league, so he had Breece Hall. I had Tyler Conklin. And I think Conklin outscored Breece Hall.
He did. Oh, he outscored him in full PPR, much less premium. He outscored him in non-PPR. That's how rough it was for Breece Hall.
Yeah.
But enough about me and my terrible fantasy.
Lucky wins for me.
Let's talk about.
I just want to share that I needed 9 points from Gabe Davis and Quentin Johnston.
Oh God.
Oh gosh. What? Gabe was a total letdown. I don't know if I'm sure you guys talked about it on Monday.
Was he a letdown, Dave? I didn't notice.
Bit, yeah.
I hate him.
They went back to using him the old way, and that they didn't learn their lesson from the week before.
It.
They learned it with Kincaid. They didn't learn it with Gabe Davis.
Okay, so anyway, Chargers, Jets, Eckler, yay, Keenan Allen, hooray. Don't judge Quentin Johnston too harshly, or Justin Herbert, I guess. But Herbert, I guess I'll just bring it up. Right? I mean, the Jets are great. They're terrific defense. He's had 3 big games as a passer. They've been against the Titans, Vikings early in the year, and the Bears. And I still just feel like something's missing without Mike Williams. But, do you care at all as you look at him in the future, Justin Herbert?
If this was a regular week and we had all those quarterbacks playing, he'd be outside the top 10.
Oh, it's
not just Williams, it's Palmer too. I mean, they're down 2 key contributors to the passing game, so... Eckler, huge letdown in the passing game last night. You thought that would be something where he'd make a lot more production. I felt like the 4.5 catches, the prop was so easy for him facing this defense and knowing how tough it would be to run. And like you said, Adam, maybe the punt return changed the game script. He thought maybe a little more competitive game. He's involved in that. He did have a tough drop. Ball was on behind him. But I think, you expect
I think he had like at least 5 targets, and I think he had at least 2 drops. So it gives me not quite as concerned. And they only, like I said, they only had the ball for less than 26 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, look, Herbert is safe. I just don't know if the upside's going to be.
7 targets for Eckler. I'm sorry. 2 catches on 7 targets.
Yeah, the 4.5 receptions felt like a layup.
It should have been. on 7 targets. It should have
I
been.
will say this, despite how bad the Jets are, thankfully Garrett Wilson continues to be productive. So that's the one constant for this team is that as much as Zach Wilson sucks and the Jets are just babying him and not allowing him to play football, it's just run, try and save us on 3rd down, and he's not capable of that. You're not going to win games playing defense and kicking field goals with this team. So, but Garrett Wilson just gets targets and he's productive.
For sure.
Zach Wilson just has no pocket presence. He just can't feel the rush. He's so careless.
He
with the ball.
panics so easily.
Yeah. And
You
Garrett
see
Wilson,
the one play that has been making the rounds. I don't know if you saw it live. He has about 30 yards in front of him to run.
Yes.
I didn't
And
see
he
that.
like
He shovel passes it to Michael Carter.
it was so bad.
Nah, that's a shame. Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 25 per game and 6 per game in half PPR. I mean, full PPR, the catches are helping him. In non or half, I wonder, is he even a top 24 guy on a regular basis? Because they just don't throw touchdowns, this team.
Fair.
Yeah, he won't be until they get a competent passing game going.
I mean,
I
I
think
think I'm
he's
being a little
3rd
hard.
in the NFL in 4th quarter target share. And I mean, all the studs are going to be high in target share anyway, but this goes to Jamie's point about playing hero ball. It's the 4th quarter, and then they start to decide to throw like crazy to Garrett Wilson. They should be doing this from the jump. He should have 15 targets a game.
He is top 24 most weeks when there are buys. If you had a full slate of games, maybe in a half PPR league, Garrett Wilson wouldn't crack it, but he's been top 20 fairly consistently recently, even in half PPR. All right, I think that's pretty much it. We can wrap up that game there, and let's go. I didn't have a drop-o-meter today. I can take a look at some of the most, I don't know if we have added and dropped really yet. Darrell Henderson is the most dropped player. Oh, no, at most dropped running back. Yeah, who's the most dropped player? There's not. Yeah, there's no data yet, but I'm seeing Derek Carr on the drop list. He's got Minnesota and then a bye. Would you drop Derek Carr for Baker Mayfield or anyone? Yeah.
I would drop him for the quarterbacks that we talked about, the main 3.
Yep.
Try and trade him first. Maybe someone will take him. He's coming off of 2 good games. Maybe someone will give you something for him as a bye week replacement.
Miles Sanders, you feel good dropping?
Yep.
He's a bench guy anyway.
Romeo Doubs.
He did have, I think he had 8 PPR points last week. That's good for Miles Sanders.
I think he had 9. He had 5 targets and 3 catches.
Okay.
I watched his carries and he looked pretty good. And I think
late in the game though.
Yeah, so but he barely got him, but maybe that'll get him going a little bit. But anyway, Romeo Doubs drop-o-meter. You good with that? Easy drop?
Yes and no. I think just make sure that Watson's playing because we've seen Dobbs put up good numbers when Watson has been out. But yes, he was one of the ones like when I was like, I'll wait a minute in terms of the guys to drop.
He'll drop in a heartbeat for any of the shallow league receivers.
Well, without a doubt.
All right.
And even Douglas.
Julio Jones is on the most drop list going into his bye.
What year is this?
I don't know, but it's there. All right, back to the waiver wire. Check to see if available in shallow leagues. Lamar Jackson might be available, or Patrick Mahomes might be available to you in the very shallowest of league. No, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson are the 2 guys. Who do you prefer?
Kyler.
I'd rather have Kyler than Russ.
Kyler is QB blank rest of season.
11.
13.
You guys ever see Blank Man?
No.
Superhero movie? Really? Never saw it? Damon Wayans and
I know of the movie.
It's really funny movie. I used to love that movie. Okay. So Baker Mayfield, Will Levis, Josh Dobbs. That's Jamie's order for this week. For Dave, it's Baker Mayfield, Josh Dobbs, Will Levis. Let's throw a little love to Taylor Heineke. Drake, you said Drake London's going to play, and Arizona's 25th against quarterbacks. I think this guy's worth a look here, Taylor Heineke.
Agreed.
Yeah,
No. I think he's 4th, but I think he's worth a look. So you have Arizona, then a bye, and Arthur Smith, as we are well aware, not ready to commit to Heineke as a starter rest of the season. So, if you're looking for a 1-week situation, it wouldn't surprise me if he's better than Dobbs, just given the matchup. But I think you just look at, okay, can he be trusted? Will this Falcons offense produce enough? We haven't exactly seen it from their quarterback position, but mostly that's due to clearly Desmond Ridder and his struggles. But yeah, getting London back is a big boost with a great matchup.
After the bye, which is in week 11, the Falcons play home against New Orleans, and then they're at the Jets. You can use Heineke for a week if you want to, and then he's totally disposable after that.
I agree with you about the Jets. I'm not so sure about the Saints. I don't think they're playing such good defense right now. They're not
They're
bad.
definitely not to the level that we saw early in the season and what the expectations are, but they're still very good.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you a little secret about the Saints, because it started at the second half of last year. They have played so few good offenses. Look at their schedule at the end of last year, because that division was garbage. I'm not saying they're bad, but I don't think they're the Jets. What's that?
Look at the start of this year.
It was easy teams, right?
Yeah, Tennessee,
Yeah,
Carolina, Green Bay, Tampa.
Not 100% sold on their defense. I mean, it should be good, but all right. When you look at Mayfield, Levis, Dobbs, Heineke, would you start any of them over? Please don't laugh. C.J. Stroud at Cincinnati.
No.
Hey, don't laugh.
Can't
Okay.
make the case for it.
How about the Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence matchup?
I like Purdy.
I would start Mayfield over them, and that's it.
Okay. Tommy DeVito is listed as a 2 QB league guy, but like I said, they haven't committed to him.
Yep.
2 more guys I wanted to bring up. Gardner Minshew.
Nope.
Not interested.
No.
Deshaun
It's kind of
Watson.
like a reverse jinx, though, because every time we're out on him, he does well.
How do you feel about Deshaun Watson? He's 78% rostered. We broke it down yesterday. He did not look good yesterday or Sunday.
No.
There's no
and
chance you're playing him
Baltimore.
this week against Baltimore, and so I can't
He's
imagine
got
there's a rush.
Pittsburgh after that.
I can't imagine there's a rush to go get him. So if you really
Pittsburgh
want him,
stinks. Pittsburgh stinks. Why Pittsburgh's not tough? Are they?
I think they're going to be better. I think last week was an example of them getting better.
I don't think Pittsburgh is not good. I think Pittsburgh's very good.
Their secondary is not. No, I mean their secondary, but getting Cameron Hayward back certainly helps.
Yeah, of course. That's what matters the most is the pass rush.
I think the only way you're starting quarterbacks against the Steelers, and if you bought into Will Levis last week, you should learn your lesson on this, is like you got to be a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm convinced Watson's touchdown to Cooper was a pick 6 if it didn't get deflected.
It definitely was a pick. I don't know if it's a pick 6. That's a
Yeah.
long way to go.
All right, running backs: Tajay Spears, Tyler Algier, McLaughlin, Herbert. I mean, Algier's got a chance to get good production this week against Arizona. He's going to be the lead running back. He's going to be the goal line back. It's going to destroy my Twitter feed. It's just going to be people cursing at Arthur Smith. But yeah, so there's that. But
Hey, he shaved the mustache. Maybe there's a change coming.
Okay, good. It wasn't working. But the waiver wire.
Is he on the short list of first coaches fired at the end of the season?
Oh, absolutely. Does he even make it? What if they lose? What if they lose to the Cardinals? Does he get fired in the
They
bye
can still
week?
win the division, though. That's the thing.
Right. They can't let them go yet, even if they lose to the Cardinals. But I think if they don't make the playoffs, they could move on.
Top 3 coaches fired would be who? Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
I think McDermott's done if they don't make the playoffs in Buffalo.
That would be something.
That's
I think Dorsey's.
I think Dorsey's done. Yeah.
Belichick.
If Carolina doesn't win another game, does Frank Reich survive?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, first year with a rookie quarterback.
I don't know. That owner seems to have an itchy trigger finger.
That's Belichick. Belichick seems like, yeah. Okay. All right. So the running backs: Keaton Mitchell, Zach Charbonnet, Leonard Fournette, Ty Chandler, who Dave mentioned, and then you got Elijah Mitchell, Jamal Williams, Travion Williams. Who?
Eberflus in Chicago.
Oh yeah, that could happen. Boy, that would be a great job to walk into with potentially the top 2 picks. That'd be great.
You'd think so.
Great. I mean, great history of that franchise. They've been good for so long. Great quarterback play throughout franchise history. Any interest in Antonio Gibson? He has 2 straight games with 5 catches.
Yeah, no, I added him late, and I took Williams off. So Jamal Williams off.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you do have an injury to Kendry Miller.
It was just more like I was putting a lot of handcuffs. Like who do you want to have just to stash at this point? And clearly, if something were to happen to Kamara, then you got to like the setup for Jamal Williams.
Oh, yeah. Brandon Staley is another guy who could get fired.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Good call, chat.
I think they have to win a playoff game in order for him to survive. Making the playoffs isn't enough.
Check to see if these wide receivers.
Oh, Josh McDaniels, he might get fired.
Jerry Jeudy, Tank Dell. All right, Tank Dell will be one. Then Dotson. Then probably JSN. Then Jeudy. Who would you rather have, JSN or Jeudy?
Jason.
Okay.
I might take Jeudy over JSN.
Something happens to Metcalf or Lockett, and JSN's going to be top 20 receiver rest of the season.
We've already seen.
They're healthy right now. They're relatively healthy right now. I think something's up with DK.
Yeah.
I don't know. Close call.
All right, Demario Douglas is our top prize. Tyler Boyd against Houston. They've been very good against wide receivers. In fact, the next two matchups are Boyd. Houston's 4th best. Baltimore's 6th best. Boyd's, you know what you're getting from Boyd most weeks. The question is, how big of a boost does he get if Jamar Chase is out in your mind, Dave Richard?
I don't think it's going to be a huge boost because Mixon's been running it well, and they can use him a little bit more and lean on him even in the pass game a little bit more. But short area slot receiver target who's got, I think he's got a pretty good floor in PPR. I just don't think he's got the ceiling. And that's what makes me nervous to say that Tyler Boyd is a great pickup and an awesome bye week replacement. And he's okay.
Odell Beckham, Khalil Shakir. I'm actually somewhat interested in Khalil Shakir.
He's also part of the reason why Gabe Davis didn't do well. I mean, Josh Allen talked about after the game. He kept referencing that it was the game plan why Gabe Davis wasn't being used much. The coaching staff might have made a decision already to use Shakir more in that short area passing game.
Right.
He's an interesting guy to add and kind of wait and see on.
Well, Josh Allen is he is now 3 of 20 for 86 yards on pass attempts of 20 or more air yards in his last 4 games. 3 of 20 for 86 yards. And that is interesting for Shakir. Because that's the role he fills. And he only had 4 targets, but Allen only threw, he did throw 38 passes. I'm sorry. Those pass attempts went up late in the game. So that was bad. The 4 targets, but the production was good for 2 straight games. Wan'Dale Robinson caught a touchdown. Noah Brown. Is Noah Brown worth a look? Worth a shot?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're tying yourself to one of the better quarterbacks right now.
And then
he made plays 2 weeks ago too.
And we got to mention that Demario Douglas, as much as we like him, he wasn't even the team's leading receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster, same amount of targets, 6 more yards, 17% rostered, much more available. Why is he kind of an afterthought in fantasy? Juju.
Looking more at upside as opposed to just the guy that's going to get you minimal production as a floor.
Okay.
I'd rather have Noah Brown.
And tight ends, David Njoku, Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Trey McBride. Don't drop McBride, right? We give him a pass for last week.
Yeah, and Kyler's coming back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hang on to him.
And you like all of those guys better than Jonnu, Henry, Logan Thomas?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And that's how Jamie ranks it. Jonnu, Henry, Logan Thomas. Dave goes Thomas. Who's 2 for you?
It's Jonnu. Henry's 3rd. Otten is 4th.
Otten 4th. Luke Musgrave 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Everett 6th. And DSTs. The Raiders, the Seahawks. Raiders get the Jets. Seahawks get the Commanders. The Lions get the Chargers. I don't get that one. Why do we like that? Why do we like the Lions?
Because Detroit's defense is good.
Okay. The Colts are against the Patriots. I do get that one. Riley Patterson at kicker, Jason Myers, Jake Moody, and Daniel Carlson. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening today. We will talk to you tomorrow with some trades and maybe play a game. Come up with some new theme music. It should be fun. Dave just knocked something over while stretching. And we will, close the goose. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody, and good luck on the waiver wire this week. See ya.
Uzama!